Welcome to this experience where we dive into how unique experiences shape unique lives. I'm your host, Kyle Willis. With me today, I have Chief Marketing Officer at Gong, Udi Ledergor, gain critical insights into what's happening with your remote sales team, your deals, and your market with revenue intelligence from Gong. Udi was previously a rocket scientist, casual. He was an officer in the Israeli army. He got into tech about 25 years ago and has been absolutely killing it. Udi, take it away. This is your entrance song.
I know that's not me playing. That's way too hard.
It's definitely not me playing, I'll tell you that much.
I'm working on a difficult Rachmaninoff prelude that's not quite ready for prime time, but I'm getting there.
I checked out a few more after you sent that over. That is some impressive stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, you said you've been playing piano for a long time. I thought it was cool that you had brought that piano actually over from Israel, right?
I did. I schlepped the thing in my freight 2.5 years ago when we moved here. I've had the piano since I've been like 14 or 15 years old. So a good 30 years I've been carrying that thing around.
That's so cool. Like, ideally, I would like to pass down like an old guitar to grandkids. I think there's something so special about that.
For sure, for sure. When I move into my dream home, I'm living in a rental in San Francisco, but hopefully in a couple of years, Gong will allow me to buy something bigger and fancier, and then I'm going to get me a little grand piano. That'll be a nice upgrade.
I love it. Yeah, I'm working towards a similar thing. I know you and I have talked about it a little bit, but yeah, just a few more years here, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. Where are you in the world?
I'm in Huntington Beach.
Nice.
Yeah, not bad. So I'm just a little south of you. Do
Looks
you
like
guys
a
get
nice sunny day outside. Yeah, my kids are at the beach as we speak.
so crazy? Yeah, I think it's like 65,
Yep.
65 and sunny. I went out just for a quick drive, like lunchtime, but haven't been outside at all yet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to take a short walk after this call. Got to get some vitamin D in me.
Yeah, I'm with you. And honestly, this is like you're so cool for doing this. I appreciate it. Obviously, you've done a lot with your life, and just in the last, I don't know, a couple of weeks, I've just been thinking about how much I learned from so many different people around the world, really on a daily basis. And I'm trying to do a better job at gathering that data and housing that data, but then putting it out into the world in a way
Mhm.
that's like, I don't know, you and I both know in business, I feel like a lot of people just put on a mask and they have their business self and then they have their personal self and have a tendency not to just like bring who they are into the workplace. And I don't know, I'm trying to bring more of myself into my customer calls, into internal meetings, and I'm having a blast doing it. But this whole little newsletter thing that I've put together is really just me trying to put more out into the world in hopes that we can impact more people. That's it.
I think it's a great idea. And first, I think you're already doing some of it. I mean, bringing your guitar and talent into customer calls and then posting that, it's super cool. And you can see that it's getting engagement. And, as someone who's been putting stuff out there as a marketer and as a human being for many years, I think that the best stuff that works is when it's personal experience, because I think there are enough content curators out there of, just reposting stuff that other people are doing. You can get that on any feed today or follow those people directly, right? Today's challenge is not getting more information. We all have more information than we'll ever want or need. It's just hearing authentic experiences that you can learn from. So that's where I try to focus. And you don't see me like sharing and posting words of wisdom that someone else wrote. If I do it, it's very, very rare. And it's got to be something like spectacularly good that I can stand behind.
Yeah.
Because like if someone wants to hear Elon Musk, they should follow Elon Musk. I don't want to share his stuff. I'm not his billboard. He doesn't pay me to do that. If I've got something smart to say, I'll say it. Or if I've got a cool experience to share, I'll share it. And I think that's what works best.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm sure you have. I don't know, I'm curious to hear about, when did you come over to the States?
2.5 years ago, in August of 2018, I moved here from Tel Aviv, Israel, where I was born and raised.
Got it. For the opportunity with Gong?
Yes, I had worked with Gong for 2 years prior in Israel, and the team here was growing, and I got sick of working till midnight 3-4 times a week to compensate for the time difference. And my husband and I were planning to move to the US when the right opportunity presented itself anyway. And Gong was the perfect opportunity. When I told my CEO that I think we're about ready to move, he said, "Great, can you fly there tomorrow?" And I'm like, "No, give me a few months to pack up our kids and let the school year finish, but we'll be there in summer." And my husband needed to finish his PhD work in Israel before we left, but we got all that wrapped up, and we moved here.
That's so cool. What were the initial challenges you faced when coming to the States? Like, were there certain, obviously, you're bilingual. I know that by a lot of your posts and
Right.
just having conversations with you, which is awesome. But what was kind of the greatest challenge you faced initially when you got here?
I guess the biggest challenge remains social. I'm a big believer that you don't make new old friends. You don't make new old friends. You make friends in certain times in your life and whatever life cycle or journey you're going through. In Israel, most people my age spend a few years in the military, so I've got some friends from that circle, and then you've got your university or college friends, and then folks you met in your first job or at summer camp or whatever. You don't make friends like that later in life. You can't make new old friends because they didn't experience that part of your life with you. And life is different every few years. Like, first you're single and carefree, and then you're in a couple, and then you might have kids, and life adds all this baggage, and you get less opportunities to experience things that you could before. And so I think that lack of a social circle as big or as tight as we had in Israel is an ongoing problem here that honestly, I haven't let it bring me down because I'm so busy between work and family. I've got 3 young children. So at any given minute, I need to be in 5 different places. So it's not that I ever get bored and like, oh, I wish I had friends to go drinking with. Like, I'm not going to go pub crawling by 9 p.m. I'm out. But it would be nice to have friends that we could meet more regularly with. I'd say recently we have sort of improved that social circle a little bit. There are a tiny handful of friends that were sort of in our social bubble, and we do get together occasionally. So that's better, but it is a challenge. It is a challenge. And then the other one, maybe more on the bureaucratic side. For the first couple of years we were here, we were on work visas, and they're not like the safest way to be here in terms of, or the most permanent ways of being here. And while we were waiting to earn our green cards, there was some stress about it, especially with the previous administration trying to do everything in his power to keep folks like us from becoming permanent residents here. It all went through smoothly and timely. So with only a few months delay due to COVID, not because of anything else, we finally got our green cards last year. So that definitely relieved a lot of stress.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're here and you're crushing it. So that's cool. It's inspirational. And this is the stuff that I want to put more out into the world. Like, people see you, CMO of Gong. Everybody at this point, if you're in sales and marketing, you know what Gong is, right? I sell a whole lot of Gong. By the way, maybe we should have a conversation with Amit, because I should probably be getting paid for some of this stuff.
We have an ambassador program. Sign up, my friend.
I should do that, honestly. I mean, I'm pitching Gong all day long. It's a necessity, and I think moving forward, it will be like a Salesforce in your tech stack, honestly.
So that's what we're going for.
Yeah, I love it. Same here.
And we love using your product. You know that. I've been actually using it in different capacities for like almost 15 years now, from the Discover Order days. So I used that back at a company called Panaya, where Amit, my CEO, and I worked over a decade ago. We used it back then, and it was one of the first tools that we bought here at Gong. So been a very long time user.
That's awesome. I love that. You've been in tech pretty much your whole career, right?
I have. I remember. So, as I said, most Israelis go through a few years of military service when they turn 18. So I also became an officer, and I was a captain in the artillery corps. And so I spent a little bit longer. And then during my last year, I was starting to look for sort of civilian jobs to go out to. And And I was looking at different directions from education to other things, and then this first tech offer sort of landed in my lap. They were looking for someone with my expertise from the military years, and they were paying like twice as much as any other job that I was looking into. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to be in tech, which was, I guess, a little counterintuitive to me because my dad has been in tech and still is in tech. He's not retired yet. He's in his 70s, working very long days every day for one of Israel's biggest tech companies. And when I ever, summer vacations, I used to go like go for work or stuff at his office. It seemed like the most boring job. People glaring their computers all day. I'm like, this looks like a really boring job. I want to do something fun when I grow up. And then, of course, I've been spending the last 25 years in tech. So
what do you
sitting in front of a computer typing all day. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I mean, now everyone in 2020 and 2021 is still just sitting in front of a computer. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So your first role, was it a technical role? Was it a more of like an operations type role?
It was very technical. So one of the specialties that I earned during my military years was I was in artillery corps, and I actually spent some time here on a U.S. Army base, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, learning a rocket system. It's not secret anymore, so it's called the MLRS, the Multiple Launch Rocket System. And the Israel Defense Force had just bought a few battalions of this rocket system for Israel. And so I was sent here as part of a delegation for about 6 months to study everything about it and then bring that knowledge back to Israel. And I became the learning and training officer for that system, teaching a few generations of Israeli soldiers everything they needed to know about the system. And just before I finished my military service, this company reached out to me. It turns out that they had just won a government bid to build a simulator for this rocket system to train technicians and mechanics on how to repair it and maintain the system. And they were looking for folks like me that had deep knowledge of the system and were now going into the civilian world and could help them pull this off. So complete sort of coincidence, stars aligning. And I'm like, sure, I guess I'll accept your very generous offer. And that's how I got my first job. And I was just teaching these software engineers how to simulate this real rocket system that I've been working on for the last few years in the military.
Oh man, yeah, that's casual from rocket scientist to chief marketing officer. No big deal.
Totally random. Totally random.
I never, yeah. See, that's one thing that for the folks that follow you on LinkedIn, I don't think that's something that most people know about you.
There you go. When I get that question, what's something nobody knows about you? I sometimes struggle with it because I think people know everything, but I guess there's always more to uncover.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it kind of takes me to, I guess, my next question. By the way, I don't have a list of questions. I think some of the most interesting experiences come from freeballing it, if you will.
You're a good question asker. You don't need a list.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but at the same time, you want to be respectful of somebody's time, right? But I'm curious, for me, a lot of my deep thinking, if you will, if you want to, get all interesting on that front, a lot of my like creativity, my deep thoughts come in the morning before anyone's awake. So I'm an early riser. I'm up at 4:30. I'm usually in the gym at 5, and then I'm back home around 6:15. And from 6:15 to 7:30 is when I find I'm most creative by the fireplace, and that's just my spot. But do you have either a spot? Is there a certain time where you find yourself just having crazy thoughts that you bring to your day to day? Like, what does that look like in your brain?
Yeah, first, way to go for making me feel bad for not being at the gym for 2 months because they're still closed here in SF. I'm waiting for my gym to open. I would say I have spurts of creativity both at the gym and in the shower, where I think what's common is that you're doing things on auto mode, right? You're not really thinking. You've done the same reps like a million times. You're doing the same thing, so your mind wanders. And obviously, I'm not in front of a screen, so my mind isn't distracted by something I need to read or watch or listen to. And so I find that in the gym and in the shower, that's where I come up with a lot of crazy campaign ideas. And like I'll get right home on the way back from the gym. I've done this so many times. I'm already texting or slacking my team members, hey, what if we did this or try that? The same happens after the morning shower.
Wow, that's wild. So I should advocate for, a little bit more paid time off during the day for gym sessions, is what you're saying.
For sure. When the gyms open up, I'll be going at around this time. So yeah, I've blocked like two blocks on my calendar around 4 p.m. twice a week to go to the gym. Just waiting for them to reopen now. Hopefully it'll be in a couple of weeks as things get better here in SF.
Yeah, I hope they open up for you too. I'm grateful. My home gym is still closed. I found another gym that was converted from an old car dealership where the roof is technically split in the middle, so it's outdoor.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
so I'm still wearing a mask and cleaning machines and trying to be as safe as I can, but I feel really grateful because I know a lot of folks are struggling without having, it's like a
Sure.
safe place for a lot of people for sure. But it's interesting. What do you
Yeah,
like to
I
eat?
I know that technically, we can all work out at home. It's never really worked out for me.
No, it's not the same. It's not even close to the same. I'm with you. Is that an iguana behind you?
There is a bearded dragon living there, so close.
What the heck? What's the
There's
story behind that?
I'll show you. So
Oh my gosh.
my kids wanted a pet this last year. Of course, they argued for a dog or something big and wild and hairy. So my husband and I compromised on, okay, we'll get a small reptile that's low maintenance. We don't need to take them on walks, and they won't poop all over the house. So bearded dragon it was.
Do bearded dragons make noises?
Not at all. They're completely silent. As you can see, they're completely chill.
Okay. All
And
right.
they eat like blueberries and greens and also roaches and worms, which need to be live. So that's the icky part. But they're pretty easy, low maintenance pet.
That is so cool. I'm gonna have to bring this up with my wife because she wants a dog, and my whole thing is like kids before dogs. Personally, it's a personal preference. I feel like when you have a dog, you pretty much have a kid, right? Like if you want
Sort
to
of,
go
yeah.
anywhere or what have you, need someone to watch the dog. But bearded
So
dragon,
I already have 3 kids, which is why the last thing I want is another dog, because I know who's going to end up having to take care of it. So yeah, I'm blaming my landlord for her no pets policy. So that's been my excuse so far.
that's awesome. That's a good one to lean back on. Hey, so everybody has been posting about Gong's Super Bowl commercial, which by the way was freaking epic.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm sure you've talked about it a little bit, but I'm curious of one, when did we start conversations around like, hey, we want to do an ad in the Super Bowl? Two, what does that process look like? Like if I wanted to go get an ad on the like a commercial on the Super Bowl, what does that process actually look like?
Yeah, well, if you've got a lot of money to spend, there's lots of people willing to take your money. It's pretty easy to spend money, way easier than earning it.
Hmm.
So I think first at the high level, our team is kind of known for doing things differently, and we've probably done more out of home advertising than any B2B startup that I know. And we've done creative things like car wraps around Dreamforce and food delivery robots in San Jose. And I look for these opportunities because I think they're an easy, relatively inexpensive way of standing out, right? What are you going to do? Buy more LinkedIn ads, up your bids for Google AdWords? There's only so much you can do there to get noticed, and it's a bloody red ocean of competition over the same keywords, over the same audience. If you want to cut through the noise, you got to do something different. Like, where are you going to show up that they didn't expect it, so they're not blind to it yet? So that's where I come in with the out of home and the cars and the robots and the Super Bowl, right? Because people are sitting with their phones and a big bag of Doritos watching the game. They're not expecting to learn about a B2B sales software. So that's exactly where I want to be. So that's why I love those ideas, and I look for them all the time. Like right now, I'm contemplating radio and TV and other things that you just don't see on any B2B budgets. But I think there are opportunities to be had there. So this one, like many things, sort of came to me opportunistically. Probably was like 3 months before the game. A sales rep from CBS reached out to me, and CBS had the broadcasting rights this year. It rotates between the 4 networks every year. So CBS was responsible this year, and like a dozen other pitches I get every day. She was like, "Hey, Super Bowl coming up. I think Gong would be a great fit, and you could get in front of the audience." And I replied, I usually ignore these things, but I replied with a smile. I'm like, "Look, happy to keep in touch, but we're probably way too early for this. I don't have your budgets. I know that a national Super Bowl spot costs north of $5 million. This is way too early. That's most of my budget for the year. So she responds, Monica responds immediately. She says, look, I get it, but you don't have to do the national spot. There are actually regional options that are way more affordable. And she started throwing around some prices. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a call. I want to learn more about this. If not for now, then for later. I've taken calls with like sports team who wanted us to sponsor them and stuff like that. I want to learn how all these advertising world works. So I have this tool set and I know where I can pull things and use them when I'm ready. So I take the call, and turns out that there's a media arbitrage to be had here, because the TV networks market their advertising according to population in different areas and in different regions. And so if you're a B2C company, right, if I'm Pepsi, I want to go for a large metropolitan area, I'm going to pay for all those eyeballs to see my commercial. If I'm a B2B company, I get to be a lot more selective, because I'm not interested in Lawton, Oklahoma right now. No offense, folks. Love Lawton. But I'm interested in like 5 cities in the US where 90% of my customers are. So I chose the San Francisco Bay Area. I chose New York. I chose Seattle. If I had a little more budget, I'd probably extend to Atlanta, Boston, Chicago. And you can get those areas for a tiny fraction of what the national spot costs. And it's super targeted compared to national television, of course. It's super targeted because like 60% of Gong's customers are in the SF Bay area. So if I can get that for like 5% of the cost of the national spot, why would I not do that? So I started, putting this puzzle together of the few regions that I cared about. Turns out prices were not as scary as you'd think. And then I took my CEO for drinks. And yeah, this is not an email.
That's the key.
Took my CEO for drinks. Now my CEO used to be a CMO before he became a CEO. So he was a CMO for many years. He was my CMO when I was the director of marketing at Panaya 15 years ago. And I know the type of things he gets excited about. And he also loves being different and standing out and doing big. And, it's no secret that good marketing teams make their company look 2 years ahead of where they really are. So we were on our second drink, and I'm like, so I had this call today with CBS, and I like, what do you think about doing a Super Bowl ad? You can see his eyes light up. And I tell him a little bit more about it, about the sort of media hack that I just told you of going regional versus national. So we'd still get like all the impact that we want, but only where it matters. And we get it for a tiny fraction of the cost. And I go like, I'd love to get your support today so we can go twist the arm of the CFO. So he's like, you have my support. Let's go do this like now. And he was so excited. And over the next couple of days, we nicely twisted the arm of our CFO, and that was it. It was not as heroic as people can imagine. I didn't have to fight an uphill battle to get this approved.
That's awesome. Even just hearing about the buying process, right? If I'm the CBS rep, of course, everybody knows what the Super Bowl is. We know the impact that a commercial can have, but even just the buying process of like what goes on behind the scenes. I sell to CMOs, right? I sell to VPs of sales and CROs. What actually happens when we present a product offering? We demo it, you do a trial, whatever that is. What goes on behind the scenes? And that's cool. CMO takes the CEO out for drinks, gets him really excited about it. He trusts you because he's seen the work that you've been able to do at Gong. Let's run with it, as long as the CFO will sign off.
Yeah. And then, before we put the final stamp of approval, my CEO sent out an email to 2 of our board members because the amount is still high and technically below what he needs formal board approval for, but he just wanted to bring them in because for Gong, it's still a big ticket item. So he sends out a short blurb about what he hopes we can achieve there. And then they both respond saying like, we're not fans of Super Bowl ads for B2B companies, but we know that, Udi and you will get creative. And if anyone can make this work, it's you. So Amit forwards me the thread with the 2 board members and writes in the title, basically, your neck is on the line. Good luck. And with that, I had to go figure out creative and build a digital campaign and swag campaign around it. And it was very successful.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I was curious. You've seen some results already, I can imagine.
Yes. So, I can't give exact numbers, but I will say that Super Bowl week was the biggest week in the history of Gong for new business opportunities created by a margin. by a margin. It was a very big number of new business opportunities created, and it was higher than during our last fundraising announcement. It was higher than the best week we've had with all of our different campaigns by a margin. It was a really good week.
So do you think that the Super Bowl could become inundated with like SaaS companies wanting to do more of the creative advertising that you guys are doing? Like, for instance, I mean, obviously it's on the table for next year now, right?
It
And
is,
people are
for
going to
sure.
follow suit, I'd imagine. It's the first, like in my opinion, at least in my generation, with the big heavy hitters in tech and the up and coming startups, I haven't seen a Super Bowl commercial for a sales technology ever.
Right. I mean, there have been a few, and this year there was another sort of Israeli-founded company, Fiverr, that did, I believe, the national spot. Um, they went totally savage and hired the owners of Four Seasons Total Landscaping to act in their commercial.
Oh my gosh.
True story. So that was funny. I think we will see some more. I mean, look, there's a reason why you don't see a ton of B2B advertisers, especially on the national spot, because A, they're crazy expensive. They're terribly targeted, right? Because sitting at home are people in entertainment and finance and music and catering, and I'm paying for all those eyeballs. You don't get paid for clicking and you pay for impressions, and most of the impressions by far are irrelevant people to my product, right?
Right.
I think Fiverr has much better targeting because they're targeting the whole freelance community, everyone who wants to be a freelancer or wants to hire a freelancer. So that's a much bigger audience than what I'm looking for, which is sales leaders. And then you've got to get like really, really deliberate about the creative. And so I'll give you one tiny example. If you watch the commercial, you know that the first second of the commercial zooms into this nameplate on the table that says Vice President of Sales. That's not a coincidence. When I worked with the creative team, my brief was, look, I have a targeting problem. Like, people are going to go to the bathroom and go get their bag of Doritos. I want anybody who's a sales leader to not move out of their seat and know that this commercial is for them. That is why the first 2 seconds of commercial have Vice President of Sales all over your screen, so that if you're a sales leader, you know that this is not a good time to get up. Like, this is for you.
Genius.
And we analyzed every second of the commercial. Like, what are we trying to do? Who is this for? How is it still going to make sense to people who are not in sales? Like at the very end, there's the joke about that means more coffee for more closers. So if you're not in sales, we're like, okay, nice. If you're in sales, you immediately get the reference to Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. And like, I got a lot of notes on people who appreciated that reference. So it still had to work for the broad audience, but be especially useful for the ones we were targeting. So there's a lot of thinking to do around there that just not every marketing team has the resources to put around getting to that depth.
Yeah, or the brain power and just the creative thinking that goes behind it. I mean, look, you had less than 3 months, you said, to put that whole thing together from the first conversation.
Yeah,
Insane.
yeah. When we actually engaged with the creative studio, it was 60 days to Super Bowl game. So yeah, we had to move very fast, from ideating script ideas to casting to just the logistics of getting a crew of like a dozen people in a location during COVID. We had to move like counties in the last week before shooting because restrictions were changing between counties, and I had to like change some choices of casting because couldn't get people to fly or move a crew to where they wanted us to shoot. It was a bit of a nightmare on the logistical side, but it pulled together really nicely. So I'm happy.
Yeah. In the midst of a global pandemic. Well done. That's incredible. Yeah, I know we only got a few minutes left. I think I'm curious to hear your advice, let's say, to the 21-year-old marketing coordinator, right, that steps into that role, who wants to be in your shoes one day. They can see it, they're hyper passionate about tech, startups, the whole thing. What skills are most relevant in 2021? And I guess even prior to graduating college, or if you don't even go to college, what should they be studying? What should they be thinking about? Who should they be following to end up where you're at today?
I'd say a couple of things would be in their benefit of doing. One, go work for someone who will serve as a mentor to you. So and you can usually sense this during the interview process, like, and talk to other people who report to that future boss if you're not sure. You want someone that will have the time and mindset to coach you and teach you about marketing, about leadership, about navigating in organizational politics. Like someone needs to teach you this stuff. You don't have enough lifetimes to learn everything on your own and make all the mistakes yourself. So you've got to find a good boss to report to that will really help you kickstart your career. So that's one tip. Two, to get ahead, you have to pick at least one thing and do it better than everyone else. If you want to stand out and get that promotion faster than your friends, pick something and be really, really good on it. Like read about it at night, listen to all the podcasts, buy all the books. There's no excuse today for not learning anything in the world. If you want to be an Italian chef, sign up for masterclass, take a class. You can learn anything these days, absolutely anything. So there's no excuses. Just find a way and get to be the best at it. And I think the final tip around that is, if people look at things like you're doing, right? How are you going to stand out amongst a sea of SDRs that are trying to get the attention of their prospects? You took two areas where you're good at. One is outreach, and the other is your guitar playing and your singing. You put that together, and now you've created something new. So I think that's sometimes an overlooked way of cutting through the noise. If you take two domains where you're very good, but you don't have to be the best singer and guitar player. You don't have to be the best SDR in the world, but if you're very good at both of them and now you combine them, you've created something new and different. And by definition, that helps you stand out. And I think if you look at, Gong's marketing and the best players I have on my team, they come with crazy creative ideas that other teams are not doing. So even if we only do them at a 9 level, not at a 10 level, because nobody else is doing it. I mean, we talk about Super Bowl and out of home, and now we're doing cameo videos and shout outs for our customers, and everyone's going bonkers. Like, oh my God, Kevin from The Office just shout out someone from Amazon, and she was like, oh my God, you guys made my year. So that was not a complicated production, right? You go on Cameo, you spend $250, and you can get anyone in the world to do and say whatever you want. But teams are not doing this stuff. It beats me why. So if you take any two areas and you combine them together, I'll give you one last example. Our virtual events, like they become the gold standard for what a virtual event should look like. Why? Because most virtual events, you log into the virtual event all excited for your day and you see a list of recorded webinars to listen to. Like, seriously, that's what I blocked my day to do? No way I'm spending time here. But you come to a Gong virtual event and there's a DJ playing from 30 minutes before the doors open till the first session starts, and everyone's already standing and dancing and their families are dancing and all pumped up. And then you get a live keynote with interactive Q&A. And then a magician comes on and he actually does a magic act with 4 volunteers live over Zoom. And then we get a sax player while you're having your lunch. And we do these crazy things that create these new experiences. And so, you bring the right content and you bring all this entertainment and you put it together, you create an attendee experience like no other. So that's how we get thousands of people to show up at our events.
I love it. Yeah. So, find a mentor, and that can typically be found in the interview process. Get really freaking good at one thing. Be better than everyone around you at that one thing. And then 3, figure out a way to stand out. Be creative. Like, take your own personal experiences and your talents and bring them into the workplace, right? It's like we have our personal selves, we have our work selves. Like, I just want to keep seeing even leaders just do more of that, because it's powerful, man. Like, you're such a cool guy, and that comes across through your content, through your work. I know you're incredible as a marketer because I've been dealing with you. Most people don't know I hunted Udi down years ago for a meeting to pitch him digital marketing services now, and here we are just kind of hanging out. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're doing. I'll send you off in great fashion, but next time this is going to be you live, okay? We'll have a nice, cool production. This thing's going to evolve, but Udi, you're the man. Take your time.
Enjoy this. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye.